What's up, YouTube land? How goes it? Well, Carpo, as usual. This will be another one of my, evening thought experiments, if you will. I just thought I would settle in to make a quick video while I have a minute to talk about something that I've been thinking about today, which is how to get things done. I don't really know how to word it. What we accomplish as individuals, it is important to us that we do something. I mean, the work of our lives is what moves us, regardless of how much fun we like to have or how we think fun is going to help us. So I kind of took some notes and I was writing down, I came up with this triangle, or like a kind of a trifecta of progress, if you will. And it consists of 3 parts. One is motivation. Do you have the motivation to do something? Can you go forward and get all your stuff together and start progressing towards your goal? This may be simple as motivating to get up and find a job, or it may be motivating to start a new line of products, or it may be something like motivating to be a better person, whatever it may be. And then there's ability. Are you able to do it? And the motivation and ability are strongly tied together, but they're all tied together. It's motivation, ability, and purpose. So I guess you could kind of look at it like for example, the Aristotelian argument, for Aristotle spoke of the ethos, the pathos, and the logos, the 3 parts of, a good argument, if you will. Really it was about what you're willing to believe and why you believe certain people about things, and it has to do with how good they are at doing what they do. That's the pathos. Pathological liar comes from that, it's derived from that. And the ethos is, who's the person, what's their credibility? And then there's the logos, which is what is the actual subject. And all 3 of those have to be tied together. And in the same way, the motivation or will that we have to do something has to be able to be answered by the ability to do it. So if we have, let's say that I'm really motivated to go on a hike, and my sciatica kicks up and I can't walk. So I'm motivated to go do something, but my ability is lacking. Now, on the other hand, sometimes we have the ability to do anything. We're feeling good, we just don't have the motivation to do anything. We're not sure where to go. And both of these are tied strongly into the 3rd one, which is purpose. And the purpose is, what is the reason for what we're doing? So if I were to say, use starting a business as an example, you would have to have the ability to do it, which also can include money. It's health or funds. Think of the ability as energy, if you will. Do you have the ability to do it? And if so, you have to find the motivation to do it. Now, the motivation to do it is driven by the 3rd, the purpose. And all of these are circled around money, funding. Money seems to be at the center of most things, but it doesn't have to be. This can be extended into many different realms. But the purpose of a man's life, or a woman's life, I hate using the term man's, the life of a person is, it's very important. And we might not think that life purpose is that important when we're young. We might say, well, I just want to be a free floater and just kind of do my own thing. And a lot of people do. And then we come to find out that it's not about leaving a mark or being remembered. A lot of people are so desperate to be remembered, they build these monstrous monuments to themselves, put their name all over everything. Many warriors as well as leaders through history have spent all their funds to make sure that they're remembered. And that's because we want to think that we have purpose, but the purpose doesn't have to be something remembered. We could make one change in our lives that makes us, let's say, help someone else, which could change their life, and they could be the one that changes the world. But it's a little bit of action on all sides. It's not about what we change. It's about contributing, I guess. And when it comes to, say, capitalism, it's a good example in our economy. We have a problem because we have yearned for material goods, and we think that materialism would get us somewhere. And lo and behold, having money can make you happier up to a certain amount. But, if you've got clothes, you're fed, you have a home, generally anything beyond that is really short-lived excitement or happiness. For example, having a home is something that you'll just over time take for granted. But when you don't have a home, you notice. Whereas having a whole lot of money may be fun while you have it. But if you don't have it, you don't notice as much. You will notice if you don't have any money, but you're not going to miss being a millionaire if you've never been a millionaire. But you will miss food. Even if you have not ever had very much food, your body will starve. The basic needs. This is how we get the idea of these basic needs. But in our society, we've created a capitalist economy, which is strongly tied into these three things: the motivation, ability, and purpose. The thing that we've lost is purpose. We, as a society, have the ability to do anything we want. We have the funds and the resources to do anything we want. And we have the motivation to do great things. But we waste it on purposeless junk. And it's really not our fault. I mean, the Industrial Revolution just happened. Basically what, in the long haul, it seems like it was so long ago for us who are living today. Oh, that was 100 years ago, a couple hundred years ago. Or this happened 1,000 years ago. Even 5,000 years ago isn't that long ago. It's really not. So we're still kind of using our primal brains and learning to cope and trying to move forward in a totally different paradigm. But the idea behind capitalism was that innovation drives progress. And what gives a person the motivation to innovate is the promise of money. And the funny thing is that the funds, or the money, is strongly tied into all of it because it takes funds to have the ability to do certain things. And once you have the funds and you're able, that ability, knowing you have it, can give you the motivation. But it's hard to motivate to do smaller things, day-to-day things. It's easy to just kind of move through the day. I mean, I haven't had a car in years. My wife and I share a car. I finally bought a car. I just drove it home today. And it's something that I have just not been motivated to do. I'd like to have a car, but it's not something imperative that I'm really missing. I don't really go very many places, and I'm here with the kids most of the time, and my wife's home a lot. So, but having it, it was the incentive to motivate me, because having that, I don't know, I throw that in because it's like having a car, even though it's a used car, it's 15 years old, to me it's new, and that's, to the person who I bought it from, it's just an old car to them. And when it was turned over to me, it was fresh and new to me. And I feel this is an important point. It's very much the same way with, let's say, politics. You want people in there that are, say, experienced, but at the same time, that's the exact reason you don't want experienced people in there. Because you become passive, you become raw and numb to certain things when you've been pushed around a lot. But you get some fresh blood in there, and things can really change. And the same thing happens with any business. The old-timers who are used to doing things a certain way, they may be stubborn and having a hard time changing, and then along comes this young buck that's like, everybody's like, scoffs at him, but he completely revamps the place and, changes the way that business is done for the better, because he has a fresh approach to it and a fresh eye. And I think that we need to turn over our ideas to other people to have them give us a fresh eye and opinion about, whether, not just whether we can do something, but whether it's even worth pursuing. What I mean by that is, what have we really gained in society besides the things that have helped us live better? Certain materials that we use for our products, packaging, something as simple as cellophane wrap. I never think, well, it's just plastic. I think, my ancestors would have loved to have a sandwich baggie to put their goods in when they're out camping or hiking or traveling. It was just unheard of, you know. You had to have leather pouches for everything, and things were harder to come by. But there was a motivation to make these things, create these things, because we needed them. And now we just want everything fed to us. We want our food processed and shipped to us. We want our clothing manufactured so we can just buy it in the store. Even though we could grow our own food and make our own clothes. And most of us are guilty. I mean, but on this other hand, should we be guilty for using what society has created? And I find that's a crucial element to it. Because when I think of how today we're scoffing at all the stuff we have, and then I think about how hard our ancestors worked to get us here. And it brings me to the idea that who really owns the innovation? When a person comes out with a new product, a person makes, let's say, a new electronic device, and they become a multi-billionaire from it. And a person says, well, they deserve it because they came up with the idea, and they made the product, and it was their invention. And I would say, well, sure, but how does a person wouldn't they still want to give back to the community that created these things? In other words, all of the discoveries and inventions that were made worked us up to this point. And many of our ancestors worked their asses off for decades to come up with one new product or one new idea that today is just something we take for granted. But what we've done is kind of moved ourselves towards an end that we're unsure of. Where is society progressing towards? What exactly is our end game? You know, when we talk about, say, protecting ourselves or, you know, improving our countries, or, you know, is it just a matter of just living the same way we've always been living, or are we really trying to improve? You know, I feel like we're backtracking, like in my country. It's we're backtracking. You know, we're trying to hang on to this, you know, coal mining, things like that, which is just, you know, because of the personal interest, because the individuals need income. And when we see jobs, we think jobs can be created out of thin air, when in reality, the jobs are reflected by the needs for those jobs. I believe coal has declined like tenfold. It's really going down because natural gas and solar and other, you know, options are on the rise. But there's so much more to it. I mean, does that mean that solar and wind power are safer? No, it doesn't. A lot of people don't realize that these solar panels are manufactured and transported using the same fossil fuels. And they're very, the wind power, the turbines use these rare earth magnets, which are mined in China. They mine almost all of the rare earth materials that we use for those windmills. And there's these giant radioactive pools all around the area because of the mining operation. It's just really hard to figure out what to do as a species. We want to do what's right, so we hear free energy, clean energy, and we want to move toward it. Then we find out it's just as polluting. And I'm throwing that in as an example of how innovation, you know, we want to create a great future for ourselves, but we have the motivation, but we may have just one wrong idea about what to do with that motivation. And even worse, we have the ability, and we have too much of an ability. Some people have billions of dollars of disposable income that they can throw at these huge, you know, projects, which may be a complete failure, or they may be something great. It just depends. But it doesn't seem like, I guess I don't see society reflecting the growth that we've actually made. And we have the motivation, we have the ability, but we've lost our purpose. To a lot of people, I guess that's a religious aspect of it, that their purpose is to go to heaven or to reincarnate, whatever a person may believe. But for the rest of the people, they just want the best life we can while we're here, knowing how precious it is to be here and to be conscious of yourself. I mean, you couldn't really have it any other way than to be conscious of yourself. It's one of those crazy philosophies of self. It is what it is. We know we're here. Let's make the best of it while we're here. And the motivation gets zapped from the general population when we see people who have the ability, the funds, and the motivation to make these huge decisions which affect millions, if not billions, of people. And we just have to sit back and watch it happen. without having any real impact, because money has taken on the form of power. It has become power. So it doesn't matter how strong you are, how smart you are, how many martial arts you know, how well you can fight, defend yourself. You could be the most amazing human with all these great intentions and notions and noble efforts, and it just can be completely ignored because somebody else has more money. And that's where we're at. That's what our society's come to. And I hope we can pull our heads out of our asses and make this trifecta happen. You know, I see this little triage thing, it works not just in the level of what I'm talking about, but in personal lives, in every day-to-day action. You know, do I want to do this? Well, am I motivated enough? Do I have the ability to do it? And if so, what is the end game? And as long as we're looking at the end game, I think we'll do all right. So, peace and love, everybody, and I'll talk to you all on the flip side. Take care now.